Chapter 10, Battle for Terra Prime. The local School of Technology on Terra Prime is having a special seminar on communications. The subject today is entangled electrons. Ancient communications were based on electromagnetic radiation, sometimes called radio waves, said the teacher giving the lecture. This has both advantages and disadvantages. The advantage is that it can broadcast to an unlimited number of people at the same time. This is why it's still in use today. However, it's unreliable over great distances and can only travel at the speed of light. Since most of the planets in the Empire are over 10 light-years away, it would make interstellar communication impossible. Now, entangled electrons changed everything. Scientists discovered that the movement or shaking of one electron can be made to mimic another. Even at great distances, this mimic remains the same. Once technology was created to encode communication on electrons, instantaneous communication to anywhere in the universe became possible, even if the destination is traveling away at near the speed of light. Far above Terra Prime in space, a dozen ships appeared overhead to drop off a small object the size of a basketball and then disappeared. Each one of those balls glowed slightly at first, then turned quickly to the brightness of the sun. After mere seconds, they all burned out. This did not go unnoticed. General Parker was sitting at his desk in the war room, looking over the statistics. A young lieutenant barged in and blurted out, "About a dozen ships appeared over the planet. They only stayed for a moment and left." The general picked up his hat and rushed out to the middle of the war room. "We're under attack. Activate the defense satellites." "Sir, we can't communicate with any of them," responded a private. "Activate the backup systems." "Sir," responded the lieutenant, "they never arrived from Frontier." "Oh my God, those sons of bitches destroyed Plan A before we could even use them. Activate Plan B." "How many drones, sir?" "All of them. I'm guessing we'll end up going to Plan C before the day's over." "Sir, there isn't a Plan C." "Give me a few minutes and we'll have it." He pushed everything off his planning table and started over with a new map. General Carlos Randall stood at the bridge of his command ship, watching the fleet get into position. He clicked a button on the communications panel and spoke. "General Randall to all ships, do not fire until we're inside the defensive perimeter. The satellites won't fire until fired upon." He clicked another switch. "Launch the message pods." Thousands of small pods fell from the ships in orbit, glowing red-hot as they re-entered Earth's atmosphere and landed safely in the population centers. They popped open, and a very loud message repeated, "Stay indoors. We are not your enemy. Remain calm. You will be safe." General Randall clicked another button. "Colonel Barrion, are you ready?" Olivia's face showed on the screen. "We're ready and waiting." The general was shocked. "Olivia, what are you doing?" "This is a Loman Brigade. I'm here with my troops." "But you lack even basic military training." She smiled. "But I have spirit." Colonel Barrion peeked over her shoulder and tried to take over the conversation. "Don't worry, sir. She's in good hands. You and Olivia leave me nothing but worry." He sat back and adjusted his neck. "You're dropping in 5 seconds." "What?" shrieked Olivia. The general pushed a button, and their brigade launched off the bottom of the ship towards Terra Prime. The brigade's ship glowed white-hot, entering the atmosphere, so bright that nothing else could be seen of it. The general turned and clicked another button. This time, Bianca appeared on the screen, with Gorky sitting behind her. "Bianca, your BFF is on her way to hell. She hitched a ride with the Loman Brigade." "What? And you let her?" Bianca blasted back angrily. "You drop in 5 seconds, responded the general. "You son of a bitch, you better hope I don't." The ship was released, and her ship quickly entered the atmosphere and began to glow. Inside, Bianca held tight against the shaking re-entry was causing. One hand on her safety harness, the other on her sword. She breathed in deep 2 or 3 times, and the shaking stopped. "Ready for the drag chute," yelled the colonel as the parachute opened to slow their descent. A strong jolt let them know it caught the wind, slowing their descent. Each one bent the ship with a groan and whine, nearing the ship's limits. Within minutes, they reached the ground within eyesight of Tara's spaceport. Terran security forces already had them targeted, and the air was full of smoke. Bianca's troops pulled out under heavy fire and formed a perimeter around the ship. As they exited, their ship left, and other ships landed around the spaceport. The heavy vehicles from all the ships joined to create a defense barrier all around the airport so the troops could move in without worry of attack from behind. "Advance your positions. Do not break the perimeter," ordered Bianca over the radio. Blasts were popping the armored vehicle all around her. "Somebody knock those towers out." Meeran's military forces soon made their way into the buildings to a chaotic scene of civilians running in all directions. Bianca looked around and commented, "Ah, damn it!" She lifted her weapon in the air and fired. "Get on the ground now! Colonel, have someone round the civvies up and get them to a safe area." Unfortunately, there were always those who would not comply. Bianca knew Jacob would be angry, but the moment a civilian fought back, they became soldiers and were eliminated. The terminals had to be cleared out one room at a time, one terminal at a time. Dropships kept coming down, providing fresh supplies and troops, while a mobile command center landed on the spaceport landing pad. This was a huge ship known as the Mobile Palace. The soldiers quickly tried to evacuate the last terminal, but one soldier saw something that made him pause. A dark mass in the corner of the hallway. He walked up to it and strained his eyes. A voice spoke out. "You see me?" The soldier stuttered. "Yes, what are you?" He stood frozen. "Interesting," the voice said. "Your name is Alexander, is it not?" The soldier nodded. "Alexander, look at the couple at the far wall." The soldier looked to the wall to see a frantic, lost couple. The wife was talking so fast that her husband was just holding his ears shut. "Their names are Frank and Laura. They have the unfortunate luck of constantly being in the wrong place at the wrong time. You need to escort them out of this building immediately." The soldier looked back around, and the shadow was gone. Taking the shadow's word as an omen, he quickly went over to the couple and interrupted their lively argument. "Excuse me, folks, I need to escort you to a safe place." Laura looked surprised, then commented, "Look, there is a man in this place who knows what he's doing. I guess I was wrong." Frank rolled his eyes back into a flutter. "Let's just get out of this nut house before we get shot." "Ladies first," she said, pushing him out of the way. "Laura, if I ever get out of this marriage alive, I'll never get married again. Don't worry, you won't live to see it." The soldier Alexander pulled them through the corridors and out the emergency exit. They were halfway to the other terminal when he came to and realized he had to go back for the other civilians. But he never got that chance. A thundercrack of explosions came from all over the city, closing on the spaceport until the terminal they just exited was swallowed into a giant trench in the ground. All of Bianca's forces were cut off from the rest of the spaceport. General Parker activated the communicator, and the face of the Chancellor appeared on the screen. "Chancellor, this is it. We blew all the bridges into the city and the aqueducts under the spaceport. You're in the clear to evacuate." The Chancellor seemed shocked. "Surely it has not come down to this. Chancellor, they're getting reinforcements with regularity, and it will be days before the first of our ships arrive from patrol. They caught us overconfident, and now we need to make the hard decisions. We'll be overrun in hours. Are you going to be safe to fight another day or be held hostage by the Meeran Alliance?" Bianca's communicator began to buzz. She answered it. "Do you see this?" The general responded, "Yes. It appears several hundred explosions destroyed nearly every route in and out of the capital city. Olivia's path is blocked, and I haven't had any communications from them since they landed. The only way to take Cathedral is through the city." "What about the spaceport?" "Only the other side is accessible to Cathedral. It appears they did that so that the Chancellor could evacuate from the north. I don't see any way of preventing that. The air defenses are too heavy to land forces there, and the Chancellor already left Cathedral." Bianca gained a determined look. "I understand. Cathedral is mine." She hung up. "Colonel, we have new orders. Leave all the heavy artillery here, aim them to the other side, and keep anyone from taking off. Meanwhile, I'll take the mobile units through downtown to Cathedral." She walked out to the open and yelled, "Thunder Road! We leave in 2 minutes for Cathedral. Mobile units line up, heavy up front." The Chancellor and Statesman Randall gathered everything they could hold in a mad rush to evacuate the premises. The temple security desperately escorted them to the waiting transport outside, where General Parker was waiting. The air was full of smoke, and explosions echoed from the other parts of the city. "What the hell took you so long? We're not moving. We're evacuating while the getting is good. You two look like a couple of ladies who couldn't figure out what to take," the general said. "Get in. Your security chief went ahead to prep the ship. I'll cover your 6. "Our 6? Asked Randall. "Your ass," answered the Chancellor as he got on board. He looked out to see civilians watching out of fear and despair. He felt that he was abandoning them, but he knew he could do no good if he was captured. He yelled out, "Fear not! I will return with liberation. Do what you must to endure. I will tell you when the time is right." Bianca's convoy rolled down the streets of the capital city, challenged by various weaponry on every corner. The insides of the heavy tank rang from the constant impact of enemy fire. Most of the resistance was easily dispatched until they got to Block 23. Civilians littered the streets, running in all directions. A lone girl stood squarely in front of Bianca's tank. Bianca screamed at her, but she did not move. Finally, she grabbed a rifle and popped open the hatch, their eyes locked. The girl was an albino, with white hair and eyes. Her stare could see through to her soul. Bianca felt frozen. A couple of near misses and the little girl's father taking her to safety woke Bianca up. Her troops pulled her in and closed the hatch. "What the hell was that?" cried Gorky. "I know that stare, but it wasn't from a little girl." "Well, wake up. There's a blockade ahead. We're in for a fight." Alexander started the tank moving again and rammed squarely into the blockade made of old transports and trash. Bianca again popped open the hatch to see General Randall on the other side, firing his weapon in one arm and holding the flag of the Empire in the other. Bianca and her troops were pinned inside their transports. They could fire back but could not see their targets. Alexander threw out a few smoke grenades, and some troops were able to get out and use the blockade for cover themselves. "Bianca!" yelled the general from the other side of the trash hill. "Cease fire!" Bianca told her men to stop and answered back, "You're surrendering? Perhaps you don't have the balls everyone said you have."
"No, Bianca, I'm giving you an ultimatum." "Ha, you can't be serious. Surrender now and I won't have to kick your pretty little ass all the way back to Meeran." The general wanted her to get angry, but she understood psychology and warfare. On the contrary, she found it amusing and laughed. She responded, "Never give up, huh?" "Never ever. You surrender?" he asked back. "Hell!" She started firing over the mound, and the rest of them joined in. Debris from the surrounding buildings was raining down around them. Alexander got all the flash grenades he could, and as a group, they threw them over the hill. By the time Bianca's troops got over, no one was there. The general was gone, but the bodies of civilians were all over. The wild crossfire had them trapped. Bianca knew Jacob would not be pleased. Asterisk, asterisk, asterisk. The mobile palace was being readied by the security chief when the chancellor's transport arrived. The smoke and debris started to cause its own weather pattern, gloomy and storming. Without delay, Chief Connor Rain rushed the chancellor and his statesmen onto the ship and walked out to close the door. The chancellor seemed confused. He questioned Connor. "Aren't you coming aboard?" "No, I'll join you on Frontier. I need to get the rest of our supplies on the general ship. We'll escort you out to free space, where you can make your jump." "Good luck, brother." The chancellor acknowledged. "Don't worry, I've got everything under control." The chief sealed the door. The engines started with a loud rumble as the general arrived at his ship. The Meeran heavy artillery started to fire in a constant roar, inching ever closer to their position. The general signaled to start the engine on his ship before he even reached the gate and drove it into the loading bay. Both ships were off the ground before all the doors were closed. The chancellor's ship moved first, and the general stayed close behind to fire on anyone who got in the way. They both sped their way through to the upper atmosphere to face the Meeran blockade of battleships in space. "Open fire! All guns, White Gull!" ordered the general. "And don't let up until they're white hot." All guns fired in all directions, covering the Chancellor's ship. The security chief walked to the window, pulled out the remote detonator that Bianca gave him on Frontier, and pressed the button. The Chancellor's ship shimmied from a large explosion just before it made the jump past lightspeed and disappeared. The chief put the detonator back in his pocket and mumbled under his breath, "So long, Chancellor, dear brother." Asterisk, asterisk, asterisk. Bianca's tank pulled up to Cathedral. She and her troops filed out of their vehicles. It was quiet. No one was firing at them. It seemed eerie. She walked up the long stairs to the door with a gun gripped tight in her arms. The door opened, and Olivia smiled down at her and said, "If I knew you were coming, I would have cleaned up." Bianca was pissed. "Ooh, what the hell was wrong with your radio?" "It broke as soon as we hit the ground. Charlie dropped it, then ran it over with a tank. Twice." Bianca walked in. As they walked down the hallway, she pulled out her sword and dragged it against the wall. It sparked in some spots, but in others, it cut down the paintings and other hanging symbolic decorations. She could not help but speak out, "I came, I saw, I conquered." Olivia responded, "No, no, something classical like..." She walked out to the middle of the foyer. "Friends, Romans, countrymen, lend me your ears. I come to bury Caesar, not to praise him." Not bad, not bad. But we have to remember it takes more than might to conquer our enemies. We must also use seduction.